Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over the newest episode of Interview with the Vampire, episode 3. But this week we kind of pick up pretty much where we left off last week with the first two episodes that premiered. Louis has just been turned by Lestat, and as it were in the previous episode, it's still it's not too far into his change that he still does not like killing. He still thinks there are alternative ways to go about living as a vampire. This is the one thing that he cannot really bring himself to do. He still has a conscience. He still has that guilt and everything when it comes to taking a human life because he believes, even though he must feed, he thinks there's better ways to go about it. In this episode, we kind of go into that a little bit, where Lestat is still dogging him basically that, you are a killer, you are a vampire, this is your nature, and all that shit. And Louis thinks there are better ways to go about it. So he thinks that he can live off of rats and cats and dogs and just street vermin, basically. And then he kind of pitches the idea to Lestat, why don't we just kill bad people? Why do we have to kill good people that, have families and everything? So they kind of go on a little night cruise through the streets to try to find this type of person. Lestat thinks, everyone's fair game, basically. And so they come across this one guy who turns out they read his mind and everything, and he is a thief. He steals from tenants of his building and just takes advantage of people in general. Lestat basically, snaps his spine and, offers him to Louis, and Louis still cannot bring himself to do it. He snatches a cat off to the side and feeds off that. And basically this whole episode is just Lestat trying to get him to accept who he is as a vampire. It's also about Louis trying to cling on to his human life, still trying to have a relationship with his family, even though they are growing increasingly suspicious of what he is and the fact that he spends all his time with Lestat, and basically they kind of understand what he is, not to the point where they know he's a vampire, because technically they shouldn't know they exist or anything, but they're very religious, so they think he is, possessed, or he's the devil or whatever. And it's when he tries to go visit his family for the birthday of the twins that he kind of gets himself worked up and basically blows the doors off the hinges to the house that he's trying to get into, and scaring the whole family in the process, and just proving his mother right. And she just basically says, don't you ever come back here. You're not welcome here anymore. His family's terrified of him, so he's more or less kind of destroyed that relationship and kind of understanding why he can't be around them. And so Louis just decides to focus on his business as a pimp. He has all these buildings that he is running, all these women that he is in charge of, trying to keep the money coming in. They're in the middle of World War I at this point, so there's a lot of soldiers in town, and it's through this that he comes to kind of a confrontation with those men that he sits around and plays cards with. I can't recall any of their names right now, but they're basically trying to cheat him out of everything that he's built and, buy it from him or sell it back to him at half of what it was, and just basically just trying to cheat him out of his livelihood and everything, and still treat him as people of his race were treated back then, like they're lower than nothing. And it's during this time that he kind of reconnects with a childhood friend who we find out was probably one of his first attractions as a gay man. He's attracted to him, his friend's attracted to him, and just they kind of go off and have a little rendezvous. And it's at this point beforehand that Lestat kind of says, you can go off and do whatever you want, and he won't get jealous or anything. And we come to find out that's a lie. They go off, they have their rendezvous, and it's out in the bayou, so it's really muddy and nasty out there. And Louis comes home to see these muddy boots that I believe were Lestat's by the door. So he knows that Lestat was out there during, what happened between him and his friend, and basically knows he was out there, he was watching them. So we all know that that was a big fat lie, that he won't get jealous. He's turning into a jealous bitch. He doesn't want anybody around him. Going back to those men that are trying to destroy everything Louis built, completely screw him over, basically. It's in this where one of them kind of goes too far, and also in that Louis is using his newfound abilities and reading his mind and figuring out what these men really think about him. And it's in that this bigger of the group of men who's I guess he's on the town council or whatever for New Orleans, and he's the reason that Louis is getting screwed. And so Louis kind of gives into his nature and then sneaks into this guy's house while he's getting ready for bed one night and reveals what he is and then kills him and then puts him on display for the whole town to see, kind of as a warning, fuck around, this is what happens. But it kind of backfires and they blame the black community, and he has to see basically everything he built start to burn to the ground. And then we close off the episode. Louis wandering the streets. He has no idea what to do with himself as everything's burning down around him. And then we get our first mention of Claudia. Claudia, as we know, is the child vampire that Lestat brings into the mix to keep Louis from leaving him. Because Louis is on the verge of walking away and going his own separate way from Lestat because he's sick of his crap. It's at this point we get our first mention of her. It seems that she's going to be a victim of one of these fires, and he has to save her, and it's in this saving her, and probably she's on the brink of death, and Lestat probably, I don't know if he'll do the act or he'll talk Louis into doing it, but we all know that she will get turned and she'll be a child vampire. So I don't know if they're going to follow the same storyline from the 94 movie. If you are familiar with that movie, and you don't want this ruined for you, or maybe they go a completely different direction, I don't know, but Claudia dies eventually. She is killed by by this hierarchy of vampires where they say you can't make vampires that young and all this crap, and the fact that they have rules against killing your own kind and everything, but they see this as a punishment for something that she's done and she shouldn't exist in the first place. So we'll see what happens in the next one, how they bring her into the fold, and what storyline they're going to follow, and how it will all play out for her. And so, anyways, guys, that was my review of this episode. I thought it was really good. It continues to build up and be more than I thought it would be. And I'm just waiting for the next episode. So, also, I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you for all the comments and questions on the last interview with the vampire video that I did. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed answering all your questions, and just the fact that you guys were taking the time to watch the video and comment. It was super awesome. So please feel free to do the same. I will answer questions, or just if you want to say, hey, nice video, whatever, I don't care. All of it was really appreciated. So I would appreciate any continued support you guys want to give. Until next time, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Please leave comments, please leave likes, and if you feel so inclined, please subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. So I will see you later. Bye.